The Bugatti Mistral is a stupendous piece of automotive engineering. Chiron's open-top sibling is savagely fast and ridiculously expensive, but it's also incredibly easy to drive. Modern-era Bugatti is not short of haters. From the moment the Veyron was unveiled more than a quarter century ago, many reckon the idea of a performance car designed to prioritize ludicrous peak velocities, overhandling precision as anathema. To this logic, the Veyron and its successors were overweight, overpowered gigas for insecure number-obsessed billionaires anxious to flaunt their wealth. It is definitely true that some of Bugatti's customer base does indeed fit that description. But the company's products are also truly exceptional pieces of engineering, huge effort, and expense, ensuring each one can deliver on the company's outlandish performance claims. It is impossible to drive any modern Bugatti without experiencing both shock and awe. But the Mistral marks the end of an era, as the last series produced road-going Bugatti to use the quad-turbocharged W16 engine that was created to power the Veyron, following Rimac acquisition of a majority stake in the brand. The decision was taken to create a new plug-in hybrid powertrain for the forthcoming Tourbillon, one that will use a naturally aspirated Cosworth-developed V16. Things move at a leisurely pace at the very top of the market. The Mistral was first shown at the 2020 Pebble Beach Concours, with Bugatti announcing simultaneously that the entire run of 99 cars had already been sold. This despite a minimum buy-in of $5 million, with the possibility of increasing that significantly with bespoke optioning. Nearly 3 years later, the chosen few are starting to take delivery, with road and track invited to drive the Mistral on roads around Bugatti's factory in Molsheim, France. When Bugatti introduced the Chiron, it promised it would never build an open-topped version. The Mistral doesn't break that pledge, but wraps Roadster bodywork around the same core mechanical components. All bodywork is different, with no external panels shared between cars. The Mistral also gets an edgier, more aggressive design. But despite lacking a full-time roof, it isn't a true convertible, at least not in the easily convertible sense. The Mistral is designed to be roofless, with only a clip-in fabric hood supplied for emergencies, and this only rated for USET, speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. If rain is forecast, Mistral buyers will either get wet or more likely select another of their many vehicles. Underneath is basically all Chiron, like the coupe. The Mistral has a carbon fiber structure built by Dallara in Italy and the same mid-mounted quad-turbo 8.0-liter W16. This is in the same 1578 HP state of tune as the Chiron Super Sport 300, which set a production car speed record of 300 for 0.77 miles per hour in 2019. The Mistral has also set its own benchmark, with a recorded 280 to 0.05 miles per hour at a test track in Germany last year, making it the fastest open-topped road car in the world. Andy Wallace, former Le Mans winner and now Bugatti's chief test driver, was the man who set both records, and is the guy who greets me when I get to Molsheim. His colleague, former DTM champion Bruno Spengler, accompanies me on my drive. Anybody who buys a new Bugatti will be introduced to their car for the first time by one of the pair. For all the bling-bling and bragging rights, the secret of modern era, Bugatti has always been the duality of its cars' characters. Behind the big, scary numbers, they are supremely easy to drive. And the Mistral continues that tradition. Win a big enough lottery, and you could graduate straight from something like a Mustang and not find the experience overwhelming. at low speeds, at least. While most supercars bombard their drivers with noise and sensation, the Mistral is, like the Chiron, definitely a grand tourer. Beyond the width of the sill, getting in is easy, and the doors are conventionally hinged rather than look at me scissors. The cabin is roomy enough to share with a passenger without bumping elbows. The huge engine is tractable and happy at low revs, and the twin-clutch transmission shifts smoothly when asked to trundle through town. Ride quality is good too, and the Mistral has enough ground clearance to cope with chunky French speed bumps without needing to activate the front end lifter. Cruising at a law-abiding 130 kilometers per hour, 81 miles per hour on the French auto route. The cabin was free of buffeting and quiet enough for Spengler and me to converse in normal tones. But I'm guessing you didn't come here for normal, quiet, or even law-abiding. Which brings me on a quiet, empty back road to what happens when I press a little harder and the Mistral transforms almost instantly from Jekyll to Hyde. There's a beat of pause as the W16's turbochargers spool up. Another tenth or so as the transmission downshifts. And then fury arrives. Longitudinal G-forces pass straight from impressive to alarming. Anybody who has been launched from an aircraft carrier by a steam catapult might recognize the sensation. But it is outside the frame of reference for the rest of us. I'm lucky enough to have driven several examples of both the Veyron and the Chiron over the years. But I've never managed to get the accelerator pedal to the floor in any without swearing. The Mistral kept that record intact. While performance is near identical to the Chiron 0 to 60 miles per hour in the low twos. 0 to 120 for miles per hour in under 7 seconds, the Mistral feels subjectively quicker, thanks to rushing airflow and less filtered exposure to the engine's remarkable collection of noises. At low revs, the W16 burbles like an expensive speedboat. A bubba-bubba note overlaid by the mechanical thrash of the hugely complex valve train. Throttle application brings a corresponding level of induction noise, with corresponding wastegate. Whistle when easing the gas. Pushing harder brings the full getter demurringers. The vast quantities of hot gases flowing through the exhaust take over the oral experience. Yet lifting off the throttle immediately turns it gentle again. The Mistral isn't a high rever. The red line at a relatively lowly 7,100 revolutions per minute. But it doesn't need to be. Perhaps the most telling statistic on the sheet is the fact the 1180-pound FD torque peak is available across a flat plateau that extends all the way from 2,000 to 150 revolutions per minute to 7,000 revolutions per minute. The engine dominates the Mistral experience to the extent it was a little hard to isolate other parts of the car's dynamic makeup. This is a big, heavy car by segment standards, and although it is easy to place, the size still felt like a limitation on narrower roads, and the mass becomes obvious in tighter corners. Yet, despite the power and torque, traction was exceptional. The only time I felt any significant slip from a driven wheel was when turning around at low speed. In a gravel car park, the Mistral's control weights are surprisingly soft for such a potent hypercar. Steering is light and lower geared than most rivals, clearly designed for high-speed stability over darty responses, although the Mistral is still quick to respond to deliberate inputs. Similarly, the brake pedal is soft at the top of its travel and easy to modulate a gentle application. But the vast carbon ceramic disc's been hard when I needed to lose big speeds in a hurry. The 7-speed transmission is lightning fast, but even manual control won't hold gears when the engine reaches the limiter. It always changes up. To be honest, the rate at which it can devour ratios at full throttle means this makes sense. The real world is rarely big and empty enough to experience the Mistral's full brutality for more than a couple of seconds at a time, but doing so always feels special. Top speed for the production version is limited to 261 miles per hour to 21 miles per hour short of the record-setting car. But it is hard to see that will be a limiting factor too often. As with the Chiron, the Mistral also has a neat Easter egg, but also a potentially incriminating one. Pressing and holding one of the climate control buttons changes the displays. To report on the maximum power and top speed since the car was started. By the time I returned to Mulsanne, my top scores were 1,590 to horsepower, slightly above the engine's official peak and censored for legal reasons. Bugatti's W16 dynasty ends as it began. The Mistral is both an overpriced giga for insecure billionaires and also a stupendous piece of automotive engineering. The lack of a roof makes it less practical than the Chiron. But this end of the market isn't where either or decisions get made. One snippet from my time in Mulsanne was learning that many Mistral buyers are combining visits to see their cars under construction with specification sessions for their forthcoming Tourbillons. The hybridized V16 will have a very different character, revving to 9,000 revolutions per minute and working with the assistance of 3 electric motors. The Tourbillon will also be even faster. Hard though that is to believe.